Hello, friends. Whoops. There we go. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Comfy Community Hangout. I'm here with Machine Delusions, who seems to have very bad internet all of a sudden. Uh, but hopefully we'll get him back really soon. Yeah, today we're going to talk about
Uh,
Flux
I don't know.
and yeah, I don't know. Your stream went all wonky there. It was fine right before we went live. Oh, there we go. Starting to come in now.
Nice.
All right, what's up, everybody? Say hi, Phil. Hi, everybody. Let's get the
How's it going,
chat.
guys?
Get the chat overlay up. Hey, look, it's Pixel Pusher. What's up, Pixel Pusher? One of your. We're gonna look at one of your. We're gonna look at one of your animations soon. How's everybody doing today? We are overwhelmed with stuff to play with as usual. So we thought we might throw it back to something that's extremely useful in the stuff that both of us do. And that's the training your own LoRAs with Flux Gym, but that's just what we're using today. There's other things, AI Toolkit and Koya, um, all with more advanced settings as you go down the line. So the stuff we're doing today is sort of get your toes wet, you know, train a LoRa with like 10 images, and then you can really go down the rabbit hole from here. And Phil's a great person to talk to on the Discord if you're getting into training and you want to ask questions before you render something for 8 hours. Just ask Phil, because he's probably done that wasted time and can tell you,
Too much.
what settings make sense and don't make sense. But yeah, so we're gonna do that. But first, I'm gonna show y'all some cool stuff that I saw this week on Banadoko, which basically just represents the larger community of makers that are using ComfyUI. It's not all of us. There's a lot of makers out there that are just making stuff and posting it to their own socials and stuff. So you guys see cool stuff, tag Comfy, tag us, tag Phil, tag me, so that we have it we can bookmark it and then come back to it. We're always looking for cool stuff to show off that people made with Comfy. So yeah, make some cool stuff or see some cool stuff. Let us know. All right, let me jump on over to the thing. That's not it. I think it's that one. Nope. Why am I so big? One of these days we're going to learn how to do this, I swear.
too
Okay.
many too many buttons.
I think we did it. All right, let me grab Discord. Banodoko art sharing. Okay. Here we go, everybody. So I'll start at the top. Some of you may know Inner Reflections. Inner Reflections is a friend of ours who does incredible work with video models and style transfer stuff. This went viral early this week, I think, or early last week, rather. It is unbelievably cool. And I'm actually just going to turn off the chat so you can see this full screen, but we'll bring you guys back up when we're chatting. All right, check this out. So this is a restylization of Star Wars using a 1920s animation LoRA for one, I believe.
Yeah, I believe this one is the Steamboat Willie, kind of like black and white, old school illustration style.
Amazing.
It's so sick. Like, I think it's one of those styles that's just timeless, honestly.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, it's fun to see, it's always fun to see more modern stuff redone with extremely old animation stuff. But this, like, even the way that explosion looked, like, I don't know if any of y'all have played what's that game called, Cuphead?
Mm-hmm.
But like that, it's a perfect demonstration of that rubber hose style animation. Speaking of Flux LoRAs, AI Warper has a fantastic rubber hose style animation LoRA. I believe it's called Rubber Hose, and I think it's on Civitai.
Yeah.
Get that. So that was Inner Reflections on Instagram and all the places. This person named Charlie made Chucky dance, and I'm pretty sure this is a Juan style thing, probably vase. I don't know because they didn't say, but I have to guess probably. I am impressed by the length. It is actually quite long. 9 seconds for a vase
Mm,
animation is pretty good.
that would have taken a hot minute for sure.
Yeah. And then another similar one with our boy Jason.
Oh my gosh.
Halloween's coming up in 3 months. I saw these by 3D Mindscaper 2000. So he says these, he or she or they says these are made with a mix of Blender, Wan, Krita, and DaVinci Resolve. That's two open source, free open source, 4 free pieces of software. So, um, yeah, this was all done basically, you know,
This is
with free
beautiful.
tools. Yeah. And like these are just gorgeous. Beautiful mix of the technologies.
Yeah, that's
You
really
know,
nice.
just
Now,
gorgeous stuff.
now it's interesting. Like I'm thinking it's mirrored after the fact, but it's kind of hard to tell if it was mirrored and then rendered on top of. You know?
I think this one was definitely mirrored after. This
Yeah,
one, no. This one's or mirrored in a different way. Like
yeah. It's
it's like
kaleidoscope.
yeah, kaleidoscope zoomed in at the top. But either way, gorgeous, great work, 3D Mindscaper 2000. T-Lip. Sorry, I put a little flashlight beside all the ones I was going to show. Also, just go check out all these; they're all really good. I just picked a couple for brevity's sake. But this is a piece by Jeru Pixel Pusher. Unfortunately, can I make it bigger than this?
Wanting to buy more pixels,
There
Jerry.
we go. So this is a GIF, so you can imagine the original video looks a lot better. But yeah, this is Animate Diff. This is the stuff we covered last week.
Yeah, it's
Um,
anime diff.
so don't count out our boy SD15.
Still one of the OGs, man. Honestly.
Great work. Great work. All right, let's hide that. And this one is amazing. So Turbtastic took a picture of his cat and used it as the control source for Vase Juan, and then redid the Shaquille O'Neal gif with his cat instead of the original cat.
That's fantastic. Oh my god.
It's
See,
so well done.
I saw this one and I was actually confused. I was like, I don't understand. This looks like the original, but now that you've explained it, that's ridiculously hilarious.
It's so good. Absolutely great. Oh yeah, this one by Chris. So this is syntax diffusion. Um, this is what we're talking about mixing the tools. Like we always cover stuff you can do in Comfy. So this project was started in Comfy and then put into Higgsfield. So like you can always take stuff from here, use Comfy as an intermediary to process things, use it as an access point, API access point for some of these tools. But this is the beauty. Like even Chris he's one of the most open source gung ho people I know. But he also understands when the tools are good, you just use them. So like,
Hmm.
yeah. Anyway, so he made a custom Flux LoRA, and then made a bunch of images with that Flux LoRA, and then animated them with Higgsfield, and it like came out super super good, super cohesive.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of right tool for the right job. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
simple as that.
We're just jumping through art styles here.
Yeah, that's
This is
crazy.
great.
Chris is really good at conceptualizing ideas.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's really good at that.
Love it. What else? This one is by Midjourney Man. You may have seen him on a bunch of our streams. He is working on an animate diff in a pixelated style right now. It's very cool. Yeah,
It's
very, very,
so
very,
cool.
very cool.
This is diff? No, it's
Oh
not.
yeah, I think so.
No way. Damn, that looks good.
We'll have to ask him. Maybe he's pixelating something else. Maybe he's pixelating like Sora videos or something. But I'm pretty sure he's using your
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
pixelation node. So yeah, I mean,
Oh, nice.
comfy, comfy, comfy. And then this one by AR, style transfer using Juan. Same deal, Juan Vase, the stuff that we, you know, like, wow. Look at that.
Wow, that was clean.
Yeah, I don't know how the transitions are happening.
And you know what's funny? It, it could be just
Yeah,
masks,
like just the
honestly.
4 videos and then composited, but damn good job. That's AR Anil. Yep. We've showed AR stuff before. Always always doing killer stuff. Who else? I feel like there was
The funny part about that last one is I know the input images they used for the
Oh yeah,
face
yeah.
reference.
Here's another one by Pixel Pusher, which is
This one's nice.
excuse me. Sorry, everybody. This one is image injection, which we covered last week. So, if you
Mm.
wanted to learn about that, check out last week's stream from Friday. It's called Animate TIFF Image Injection. And if you don't want to watch me talk about it for an hour, just go grab the workflows out of the general channel on Discord, drop them in, play whack-a-mole with the models, and just start changing stuff. You don't always have to wait and watch the video for us to explain it to you. I learned a lot of this stuff by just grabbing a workflow, throwing it in, and playing whack-a-mole until it worked. So, yeah. But
Totally.
yeah, man, this is crazy. Great work again. Okay, but I think that's all of them. Another one from MJ here, Julian. Very cool. There's no way that's diff. That feels like Sora. Super sick.
Yeah, it's badass.
Right on. Well, let's go down the rabbit hole, friends. Who among you has trained a Flux LoRA? It's really easy. Yeah.
Too many.
You can also train these on Civitai, by the way, if you have Buzz. There's a whole service that works actually kind of just like Flux Gym. So yeah, if you have Buzz and you want to make
Mhm.
LoRAs, you can definitely make them on there. It's a great place to learn how to do it without, so feel like Buzz is kind of low stakes, so you just kind of feel like you're whatever. But if you want to do it locally, so you can do this on a machine with as low as 12 gigs of VRAM, I think. Just remember the amount of VRAM you have and the amount of time it takes are directly proportional. And the speed at which your GPU is and the
Yes.
amount of time it takes are directly proportional. So if you have a really fast GPU with low VRAM, this is probably an okay thing to do. If you have a very slow GPU with low VRAM, I would maybe do what I'm doing here, which is just renting a 4090 on RunPod to do my runs. So what I generally do is I'll rent a four. Well, I'll gather maybe, I don't know, 5 LoRa's worth of material, and then I'll package it up, and then I'll spin up the run pod, and I'll just bang 5 LoRa's one after the other, and then just shut it down. And because it's like
Hmm.
they take what, like 15-20 minutes, to train, so it's 2 hours or something out of your day, and you've got 5 new LoRa's to play with. But the key there is really either having at least the first LoRa ready to go when you start training, or having them all ready to go, because there's nothing worse than like renting a GPU and then just sitting there while you're collecting files in a folder, and so yeah. But the nice part is once you get that first one going, that'll give you enough time to get the images for your next LoRa, so you can actually just keep this ball rolling if you're feeling inspired, like start training one LoRa and then be like, oh, that gives me an idea for another LoRa, and then go collect the images while that LoRa is training, then train that LoRa. Well, the last one is done. You can go take that last one, start inferring with it, see if it sucks or not. So you can literally just keep this
Hmm.
this this train running. So, and another thing I want to point out before we get started is like this is how you shape AI to be your voice. Like this is basically the method of
Great point.
like developing and iterating and powering your own specific unique style. So you do not have to share every LoRa you make. You can make LoRa's from your own work and then just have them to explore your own inspiration, your own stuff. I truly feel this type of customization, fine tuning, and LoRa's and mixing them is how you become a unique voice in this stuff. Because yes, it is possible to find unique things inside the same data set everyone else is using. But once you start injecting your own data sets and then driving the results way outside the norms of the sort of checkpoint, the main model that we're fishing in, that's when your work starts to look like nobody else's. So yeah, yeah. Quick precursor to this is a great thing to learn if you really want to be able to be like, hey, I'm making this art, and I don't want to have a watermark my name. I want people to just know that it's me. This is a really cool way to dive into
Yeah.
that. And like Phil can tell you, like, this is a great way to style blend. Like you can talk about that if you want, Phil. Like just
Yeah, I mean, you know, you pretty much hit the nail on the head, right? Like when it comes down to it, I feel like everyone's kind of like caught some sort of a wave of this AI movement, right? And in the beginning, and also more so in the middle too, it was all about like what's the prompt, right? When LoRa's came into the picture, it was like, okay, prompts faded away a little bit, and now it was like, what's the model, what's the system, the workflow. But then, Sora and like more closed source models started to pop up, and then it became what's the prompt again, right? And with training LoRa's, it just it takes like it takes all the effort of like the words and it puts them on the back burner, and it really becomes like what was the training material. And this goes as far as like you have three separate models and you're just blending them in this like slight like weird configuration that just works for some reason, base model
yeah.
and three LoRa's on top of it. And then when people are like, oh man, this is crazy, what's the prompt? And it's like baked beans,
It doesn't
and
matter
it's like the
anymore. Yeah.
most insane, it doesn't even matter. And like that's the cool part, is like the words don't matter anymore because you have all of this influence that you've like baked in. And the last thing I'll say to this is, when creating LoRa's, like they don't necessarily have to be
Yeah.
styles. There's a lot of like research to be done in this like subcategory of mini neural networks. I couldn't tell you like the countless LoRa's that I've trained that have nothing to do with style, nothing to do with characters or any sort of like subject matter, but like function in like a utilitarian way. Depth maps, line art. I trained a model on glitchy, like low res stuff. And then what I did was when I used the LoRa, I just put it in the negative. And now all of a sudden the LoRa is designed to push away from glitchy, like
Yeah,
dithered
LoRa's are
kind
like
of
magnets.
things.
You can use
So
them
there's
to
so much
repel
stuff.
or to
Yeah,
attract what you want from that model. So that's another point that
totally.
I don't bring up myself enough is you can use LoRa's to get away from something that you're trying to avoid too. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Bullmash asks, what about character LoRa's to help reinforce a specific character in a bigger multi-character generation project? Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
The thing I've found with Flux LoRa's is like multiple people tends to get a little dicey sometimes. There are some solutions. There's like regional based, like mask based LoRa stuff you can get now. Like there are ways
mhm.
around this. But yeah, making LoRa's for the character is definitely the best way to make sure you get that character every time. There's just like no question
Yeah,
about that.
100%.
Another person, Andy said, I have a great ComfyUI Flux LoRa trainer workflow. Not sure the name of the person that built it. That's Kajai, but it is generally flawless.
Hmm.
Faultless. Yeah, Kajai has a whole pack of comfy nodes. It's like called Flux Trainer, I think. Yeah.
I think it's just called Flux Trainer. Yeah.
So you can do all this in Comfy. The only reason I'm not is because when I go to train this LoRa, I have a 3090, so it'll take twice as long if I do it locally. And
Yeah.
also, there's a super simple way to install Flux Gym on your machine as well if you use Pinocchio. So, like, if you want to use
Mhm.
your local GPU, it's like 3 clicks to use Flux Gym. So, unless you want to get into the guts of training and you really like truly understand what you're doing, you don't really need to bring Comfy into that section of the training. But then later, obviously, if you're gonna get into the nitty gritty, I mean, what's better than Comfy to do like robust data set
Mm.
management and captioning and stuff, right? You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
it's yeah, that's sort of ideal. Hey,
What
it's
up,
our friend
MJ?
Julian. We were just showing you some of your pixel art, buddy.
Oh,
We were trying to figure out if it was Sora or Runway or what the initial videos were.
neither actually. It was hand drawn frame by frame by me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. I call
It
BS.
was Flux and then Flux context and then Kling, and then it was
Nice. Oh, nice. So you use
just to
context. What were you
modify things
micro
on the
editing?
scene. You know, like yeah.
Sick.
Right on.
Nice. Hell yeah. I've had a lot of fun with
Very
that.
useful,
That
honestly.
model.
It's a
Yeah.
great tool.
Yeah, it's I can't wait for that local version to drop so we can really play with it.
Yeah, me too. It's gonna be crazy.
Ramon asked, oops, where'd it go? Can you get Flux Gym to work with other models like SDXL? Flux Gym is for specifically training Flux LoRAs, but AI Toolkit, I think, and the Koya definitely, absolutely
Yes.
can train SDXL and SD15. That's what it was originally designed for. Flux came out after. The thing I'm showing today is just for Flux LoRAs, but this process, you can do it for any base model can be fine-tuned that has fine-tuning scripts, and any software that supports those fine-tuning scripts can fine-tune those models. Basically is the path to figuring out if something can be trained. But essentially everything that we have access to that's large can be fine-tuned, pretty much.
Yeah, I would argue like there's not very
Yeah.
many things that can't. And like you said, Pers, the AI toolkit. Actually, he made a tweet today or yesterday saying he brought 1.5 and XL, and I mean the AI toolkit. By what's his
Ostrus.
username? I forget his
Osiris,
username.
Ostrus. I never know how to say it. Ostrus.
Ostrus, yeah.
Ostrus made AI toolkit, which actually this Flux Gym is literally just a like fork, I believe, of AI toolkit, but it's just like simplified even more, dumbed down even more for us artists. But yeah, so both me and Phil have talked about our relationship with Flux LoRa training, but since you just got here, Julian, how do you feel like, because we were talking about how training Flux LoRAs is essentially like one of the only ways to have a unique voice in this AI world, because you're basically making your own paintbrushes to play with, right? How's that sort of been for you in your process?
The best generative images I've ever generated. I've been with LoRa's. I've trained in a Flux, hands down.
Oh,
Like
that's cool.
the neon zombie style. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, those are
Those
great.
were Flux LoRa's, and like Baking Ski / Neon Zombie all mixed together. It made like a completely unique style, and it's by far like whenever I generated like the first ones, I was like, like I had like the first time I generated something with Midjourney at the time ever. I got that vibe. I was like, whoa, this is something really cool and unique.
Yeah,
Very powerful stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's the other thing, and if you already make art, like making an models based on your own art style is so much fun. It's insane. Like I've trained models on just outputs that I've made for like motion graphic stuff from Blender, and the stuff that it spits out is like it's like my vibes. Like it's like having little art babies. It's really crazy. I highly recommend that training on your own stuff, because it's really fun to sort of mix it back up and then re-collaborate with the AI to see like what it sees in your stuff. Anyway, let's move over to Flux Gym before we run out of time on this thing here. Oh, look, Phil's big again.
Man, I'm hypnotized.
There
when I
we
look at the
go.
background. God damn, Phil.
I know, it's great. Okay, friends. Here we are in Flux Gym. I'm going to show you how to use it, and then I'm going to show you how to install it while it's running, so that we can kind of sort of save time here, because it does take 15, 20 minutes or whatever to train the LoRa. So yeah, let's have a look at the interface and how it works, and then we'll run one, and then we'll show you how it all goes. And I'm just realizing now it's going to take even longer because I did not run one first, and it's going to have to download the model as well. So awesome. All right. Flux Gym, after you install it, it shows up in your web browser because it's running on a Gradio, or a web server on your computer, or on RunPod in this case. So what you'll see when it starts up is this. You've got the gym, and you've got your LoRa info, the data set, and the train. It literally says step 1, step 2, step 3. Just go through it. Step 1, configure your LoRa train settings. The name of your LoRa has to be unique. We're going to call this one Purr's face because we're going to just train on a bunch of pictures of my stupid face. The trigger word will be Purr's_face because that's probably not in the database anywhere. Phil, you have ideas about this, right? For trigger words?
For what? Sorry, the trigger word? Yeah, so you know what? I mean, the trigger word itself, specifically speaking, the idea here is just find a word in latent space that's not like already present. The idea is like if latent space was a point cloud, you want to find an empty space in that cloud to just put your data.
Yeah. So in this case, the term Purr's_face likely does not exist in the database because this is not a phrase that anyone's ever used before. So we're gonna use that as our trigger word. So then whenever I want this thing to happen, I'll use Purr's face. And you can do multiple triggers or a whole sentence, but usually keep it short, keep it weird. Something that's just not something that's not in the lexicon, right?
Actually, Phil, you gave me a good trick at the time, and then I trained the first LoRa with you. Because Phil, you're the one who trained me on how to train LoRa's, and you just told me to write like in this case it would be PRZFC. So, like you remove
lead speak it or do something weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could like what I usually do is throw like if I would do like PUR. Oh, this one F4C3 or whatever. I would do like lead speak or whatever for mine. But you do whatever you like just to make sure your phrase is weird. But Purr's face is weird enough. The thing is, face is probably in there. So like maybe it is actually better to just Purr's isn't, but then we go F4CE. So Purr's face. And then the 4 is the A, the 3 is the E. If you grew up in the 90s, you know what I'm talking about. And if not, I'm just a weird old man. All right. VRAM. I'm going to pick 20 gigs because it's a 24 gig card that I've rented. But if you have a 12 gig card, click 12 gigs. If you have a 16 gig card, click 16 gigs. Repeat trains per image is how many times it goes through each image and adds it to the training data structure. So the higher this number, the more times it's going to go over that image. And then the train epochs is like how many times is it going to train. So the higher these numbers, the longer your run will take, but the more it'll stick to the data. But there are diminishing returns on this. So start here. And if it's not enough, increase the numbers, do it again, et cetera, et cetera. But 10 trains per image is at 16 epochs is kind of like, we're good. But yeah, play with it if you're not getting what you need out of the LoRa. I'll explain that more once I get the LoRa running, but basically like if you're not getting the results you want, either your data is too diverse, so it can't figure out what you're trying to train, or the captioning sucks. And we'll talk about captioning in just a second here. So I'm going to just upload a bunch of dumb images of my face. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Dude, how do you have so many pictures of yourself?
15. I went and collected them to make my first LoRa. Like there's all like old like selfies from back in the day. Anyway, so yeah, you just drag and drop your images into this little upload your images thing. It does that. Then it puts them all here. And you can see these captions are all just the term Purr's face. That caption is there because I put this here first. If you don't put that there first before you drop your images in, you're going to have to add it to the captions after if you want it to be captioned. So this first, then this step. That's why it's step 1, step 2. So
and Purr's,
this,
I'm sure the people would ask, what is the minimum and the maximum images you should put? I think that's a question that could come up.
I would say probably 5 minimum, and then maximum is LOL. For me, like
pretty much.
this all again really depends on what you're trying to train. If you're trying to train someone's face, you don't need that many
Yeah.
because it's a very specific thing that you're training it.
Mhm.
But if you're like trying to train in the, I don't know, Yves Saint Laurent 2025 fashion, the entire catalog, that's probably going to be a big ass junk bunch of files. And the other problem with that is it's going to start mixing all the clothes together, right? So like there's all kinds of like, I don't know. You gotta think about what your goal is and try to figure out if like a single LoRa is going to get you there or not. Because a lot of this stuff you have to kind of extrapolate into multiple LoRas. If I want a certain character, but I want them to be able to change their clothing, I might need to train a character or a face LoRa and a clothing LoRa,
Yep.
and then swap them out for the clothes that I need and things like that. So think of it as like Legos or dolls or something where you just like you have all your outfits and your sort of modular pieces and you can put them together like action figures or whatever to make a scene. But yeah, we uploaded the images and we want to add AI captions with Florence too. I do this because I'm lazy. If you want to caption the images yourself, you can. I'm not going to. I'm going to use Florence too. And basically what that does is it goes and it downloads sorry guys, connect Jupyter. Oh, there it is. I just lost it. So it goes and downloads the Florence model, which is a captioning model or a image vision model, and you can see it's doing it right now. It's captioning all the images. This image shows a man with glasses and a beard wearing a blue T-shirt standing in front of a blurred background. Blah 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 blah. The point of all that is to say it does this for you, this captioning thing, which is ideal. I mean, you can do this yourself, but being specific about what it sees in the image is very important. And this task gets very boring very quickly. So like you start being like, oh, it's a dude on
Yeah.
a bench. Like I'm over it, like just get it done. So it's good to use AI for stuff like that where you're gonna get fatigued.
I'd like to touch on this.
I'm
when
just
you're
going to
done,
start the
Pers,
training
'cause I
now
think the
because it'll download the
captioning's
models. So basically, we hit start
okay.
training, and this is saying, it's downloading the Flux Dev model. So if I go look at the thing, you can see that it's doing. Holy crap! I got the fast internet today. Whoa!
We're blocking it. What's the
Here,
speed?
can you guys see that? I don't know. It's that's Flux.
Zoom in.
It's
Control
going.
plus.
It's like.
Oh yeah, there you go. Gig a second. Woo! Let's go.
It's cooking. All right.
Wow.
Anyway,
That's insane.
that's exciting.
That's
if
crazy.
anyone's ever used RunPod, you know how exciting that is. Sometimes you get rather slow machines. Okay, so yeah, it's just doing the thing, and it's going to train, in the background, and then so we can just talk about stuff while it's training now. So let's jump back over to the chat thing here. There we go. Yeah.
Nice.
So what you're saying?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion and chatter in the chat here about just like the methodology with captioning and the importance it plays, and I can sum it up pretty easily. Basically, the words you are providing are exactly what you would have to use to get back prompting, but this goes much deeper than that, just that sentence. So in this example that Pers had just done, we have a main trigger word, which is Pers face, and then we have a bunch of auto-generated stuff that is like generally what is happening in the scene, right? So let's take a step back and let's say we're not using AI and we're methodically captioning Pers's images. If I left Pers's trigger word as the only word in the captioned data, the model would learn everything in the pictures to be associated with Pers,
like
right?
flowers
So even
and
if I was like,
and...
even if I wanted, well, exactly, yeah, all the background, all your clothing, and this might not be the targeted desire, right? So if you're training someone's face, but you have them, primarily in a blue shirt because that's just what you have, and you don't specify that they are in a blue shirt, when you go to prompt them, it may be difficult to pull them out away from that blue shirt. However, if you prompt and caption in your training set that this is so-and-so's face and they are wearing a blue shirt with XYZ in the background, it will be much easier to separate the subject from the rest of the data. Now, with this concept in mind, you can go crazy deep. I've trained art styles where my whole goal was to not get the style, not get anything subject matter wise, but I wanted the line quality and illustration effect of the style, but I didn't care about anything else. And so I went through and methodically captioned the color, the subject matter, the composition, and the only thing that I also captioned the line art style, of course, but I put that near the front because models prioritize both the front and the back of a prompt more biasly. And then when I went to prompt my trained data, I didn't mention anything else, and I went just for that one token right at the front that mentioned the line quality or the illustrative effect. And I was able to isolate just that one element, even though my data set provided way more than I
Yeah,
needed.
it's kind of like reverse psychology. I think that's what you told me, Phil, at the time as well. Is you describe everything you don't describe everything you want the LoRa to capture, essentially.
It's, at the end of the day, like it's finding patterns in your data, right? I saw a lot of people saying like diversity, and if you have a lack of it, then you need to make up for that, and it's true, right? At the end of the day, all these models do, all a neural network does is take a bunch of sparse data and try to draw a fitted line between all of it and make some sort of generalized assumption, right? But with that in mind, we can really guide the model to learn either very vague concepts, like what a person's face looks like, or very, very like nuanced things like the lighting in a scene, which is like kind of ethereal. It's not really something you can nail down quite easily, but given enough data, you can train lighting very easily,
Yeah, it's always interesting what these models pick up. Adrian says you didn't touch any of the parameters. I understand there are some tweaks you need in there in order to make the best possible consistency and texture for human subjects. You're probably absolutely right, Adrian. This is what I said about how the rabbit hole goes deep. What I'm doing now is just a generalized LoRA to catch my face. We're just messing around on stream. If I was really going hard on this, I would probably be diving into AI Toolkit or Koya deeper and talking to Phil and a few other people to find out, what settings make sense for what I'm trying to accomplish. But for right now, we're just sort of doing generalized LoRA training. So I don't want to push everyone too far down, what the best way to get human skin, et cetera, because, someone else might be trying to do pencil crayon drawings or something. Right. So just, default settings are great to start with. And then, when you look at your images, you're going to be like, oh, the skin looks weird. Then I can go on, the disc, like the Comfy Discord or Banadoko and be like, hey, I'm training Flux LoRAs and the skin looks weird. And here's an image of why, and here are my settings. And someone will probably be like, oh yeah, that's because of this, this, and this, and then set you on the path to do the things. So like, again, this is all generalized. So yeah, don't sweat the crazy details here on sort of day one stuff.
Yeah. David brought up. Wait, no, that's not the one.
The blue shirt thing.
Where was it?
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
The blue shirt thing. Yeah, where was that one? Okay. Yeah, this is an interesting point, right? To some degree, David definitely is correct. And in other ways, it's a little misleading because what a LoRA really is it's a model being trained on top of a model, right? So we're not providing all the data that the one model encompasses. We're starting with the base foundation, in this case, Flux, which probably has like millions of representations of a blue shirt in there. And we're just adding our tokens, our training words on top of that base knowledge. And so like if PERS in this training example didn't put a trigger word that said PERS face, he just said like man's face, every single face in the Flux model when using his LoRA would just be pers, because pers would be essentially
The face.
overwriting essentially overwriting what the model
face.
understands to
Honestly,
be a
and that
male
still
face
sometimes
or a man
happens.
face.
Like I did a boiler
Exactly.
room DJ set LoRA and my and a pers face LoRA, and then when I go, a pers face man is DJing at a party. Everyone was me.
That's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, that's crazy. Now, and you know, maybe in that circumstance, it would have helped if you were trained with a more diverse
Yeah.
amount of
No,
people
the big
around
that's
you.
I
Like,
think that was the problem.
it's so
Every
hard
single
to
picture
tell,
was
you
me
know?
going like this, like dead face in the camera, because it's like I take the same selfie every time, right? So like but the diversity of training,
Sure.
like we were talking about this earlier, but like, you know, if you're like what we just did here, we just trained a LoRA of 15 pictures of me taking the same selfie. So guess what it's going to spit out? Pictures of me in a car taking a selfie. It's because I didn't go take pictures of the lake. I didn't go take pictures in Japan. Like I did, but I didn't put them in the data set. But if I had, and I'd taken pictures from different angles, taken pictures from different photographers and things like that, that data set's going to be able to put me in much more diverse places than the one I just made, which is always going to sometimes just have like, I'll be like, maybe I'll be at, you know, the place that I prompted for, but I'll be in my car there. You know, like it
Yeah,
really depends on what you
exactly.
trained in there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a few points I want to touch on. One being, as much as this is a science, this
Yeah.
truly is an art. I wish there was a magic formula to be like, do this and it will always work. But there's too many variables, your data, the captions, your training settings, like literally this training seed can affect training. There's so many variables. So finding the formula that works for you, experimenting. And then the last point I'll touch on is, once you have your LoRA, you can also bring it into Comfy and start tweaking blocks, which is a
Yeah.
whole other topic. But let's say Pers's LoRA came out a little rigid, you know, like he was mentioning, he can't get himself out of like the selfie mode. Well, there might be a block, quite literally just like a Boolean flip of a toggle, that he can just turn off some weights in the LoRA in Comfy, and then all of a sudden like the
Yeah, I'm not in
flexibility
my
just
car
opens
anymore.
up, and now it's like a totally new
Without
functional
needing to
model.
retrain.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Get out of your
We
car,
should cover
Pers.
that one in an upcoming stream. I think it would be good to add on to this.
Blocks is one of those rabbit holes where it's like, yes, but also you can spend more time disabling blocks than you could have just spent like
to retrain,
or just trying to specifically get the thing you're trying to get. It is a very fun rabbit hole though, and definitely something worth exploring, because like it's wild that we still barely understand what's happening. You know, so anything that lets us sort of just like take a little piece out and then look, and then take a little piece out and look, like really helps us, our brains kind of understand the whole unit and the blocks and the way the whole diffusion system works. And all that knowledge really helps you then make this like informed decisions when you're working with stuff, because you actually understand how the models are doing the thing. It becomes less of this weird little black box that just magically makes images, and it's like actually a science. But like Phil said, it's 90% science, and or maybe 50% science and 50% maybe seeds and art and guessing.
And you see what Adrian posted something very interesting too, which makes this fun. Is you put the same picture 15 times, and then you tag differently, and then here you go. You can make things that are completely crazy and unexpected and have fun with it. Sometimes you can actually just do these kind of things too, which makes this not a science but also like an art style, I would say, or just a fun experiment.
David says about that block editing, if you know what is the typical effect of each block, you can then take LoRAs that have nothing to do at a first glance with what you want, but then only activate the correct blocks. You can obtain this very effect you're looking for. That's interesting. Yeah, this rabbit hole again. Hello, Pookie.
Yeah, blocks are magic.
Also, Mr. Pookie here is a bit of a Flux LoRa trainer
I was
himself.
just saying.
I believe all your LoRas are now on Hugging Face. Is that correct, Mr. Pookie? I believe so. Go check out Pookie Nom Noms. How does it spelled on? Does anybody know how it's spelled on Hugging Face?
You
On
should put it in the
Hugging-
I'm
chat.
not sure.
Yeah.
Probably the same.
See if we can find him. Oh, I think I see him. Pookie Nom Noms. I can't believe I just went to his thing. Yeah, no, just
Googling
from
it?
like without looking at it first. Lord love the man, but I bet you there's some magical LoRas in there. All right, so yeah, Pookie, go get his LoRas. It's good stuff. Pookie trained a bunch of really awesome stylization LoRas that can really sort of push your stuff into new places. Yeah, dive in. We are 4/16 done training this model. So since this is going to take a little longer than I thought, perhaps I will just start inferring with the last PERS face LoRa I trained in the exact same method, so that we can see what it do. I was hoping this one would be somehow better, but you know,
The chicken is done.
it look magic. We just fast forwarded. It's all done. The files on my hard drive, and we're good to go. So
I love cooking shows.
One thing that I will say then, if we're going to do that, is let me switch over to the view thing here and kill the chat for a second. Okay. The only other thing is Flux Gym puts your files in a folder called outputs inside the Flux Gym thing. So your LoRa's will be here when they're done in this Flux Gym outputs folder. So if you're renting a run pod to train these LoRa's, don't forget to download them before you kill the run pod. Yeah. All right. And then locally, obviously, they'll be saved in your hard drive, so it's whatever. But they'll just be like safe tensors files that you can just load as LoRa's, and there'll be like 5 of them or whatever, however many sort of runs you did, and then they'll all be saved at different like stages. So it's a great way to sort of like, if the LoRa is really too heavy, you can kind of go back a couple of epochs and try one of the less trained versions, and you might you might be right on the money, because LoRa's, you got to think of them like they're zeroing in on the thing, right? So if it's just grabbing too hard, you can just use like a slightly less or a less weight or a less trained version of that LoRa to give it more generality. Yeah. Dork. All right. Does anyone know how to infer flux images? I'm just kidding.
What do you mean?
UI scripts activate. Oops, why not?
One thing I found too with training like more complicated or stubborn styles is, instead of trying to like train a LoRa to like one shot from 0 to 100, train like a multi-stage kind of like step-by-step process, right? And so like, let's say I was going for like a general anime style. Yeah, sure, if you had enough data, you can just like one shot the whole LoRa and the model would eventually push it there. But you could break down the step-by-step of what it would take, like kind of think of like pre-train and then like fine-tune kind of vibe, but with multiple LoRa's, and then using them in succession very gently with each other, and then bouncing them down. You can just merge all the LoRa's together, and all of a sudden now you have
Actually,
like
that's
a new
something.
recipe.
Yeah, that's something we
That
didn't
took
even
a
talk about. While my Comfy's loading, let's talk about that. So let's say I have my face LoRa and I have a clothing LoRa, and those two LoRa's just always bang. Like every time they work together perfectly, and I like them. You could take those two LoRa's and mix them together, train them together, and then that becomes one LoRa. But you can do that with as many LoRa's as you want. So Phil can tell you, like, for style diving, style blending,
Oh my
this is
god.
insane, because you you can make a bunch of outputs, and then those outputs are like, sort of right in the right wheelhouse, and you can train on those, plus merge them into existing LoRas and
Yeah.
really dial it in.
Yeah,
I
look
think
what's
I'm like
behind you.
I think I'm like 20 LoRa's deep at this point. Like some of my checkpoints, like you couldn't pay me to recreate them because they're a merge on a LoRa that I trained and an extraction from a checkpoint that I merged, and it was just like, oh my god, over years, like literal years. Yeah, but without a doubt, the images and the style that I get out of these models is so 100% mine that no one could take that away from me, which is crazy. Kind of coming full circle. If you want to really have a unique voice, a style that no one can bite, so to speak, yeah, this is how you do
Well,
it.
Julian's got a dip, but thanks, buddy. We'll see you,
See you guys.
on Friday probably.
Yes,
Thanks for
sir.
coming, dude.
Peace.
Right on. So yeah, man. The just the ability to sort of mash things up is crazy. Anybody who ever made hip hop or blended records back in the day gets it. You're basically sampling. You're sampling your work. You're sampling other people's work. You're remixing, like in the truest sense of the term.
Yeah.
All right, let's get over to this silly
exactly.
LoRa. So I'm actually going to use the Flux Dev default workflow in the browse templates folder because I think that seems like the way to go. And I'm also going to use a Flux Dev FP8. Oh boy. Oh, you know what? I need the UNet loader. I don't have this version of Flux on my computer. I have the old one, Flux 1 Dev.
Oh wow, they have a checkpoint version.
I'll have to get that.
It's probably massive.
And we'll do FP8, E4M, 3FN. Okay. Cute anime girl with massive fluffy fennec ears. Yep, but we'll make it Purr's face. Cute anime girl with massive fluffy. Let's see if that works. So what do we have to do? We have to load the LoRa. So I will add a LoRa loader. And I'll go to my Flux LoRAs, and I'll go to my private LoRAs, and I've got a Purr's face here somewhere. Purr's face, Purr's. There it is, Purr's.safe tensors. View LoRa info. Okay, so here's the other thing I want to talk about just a minute. So I made these LoRAs back in the day, whatever. My brain sucks, so I forgot what the trigger is. So what happens now in the future me, I make the trigger the name of the LoRa, so that I can easily just remember. Mm-hmm. But this one I didn't, because it was one of my firster LoRAs. There's this really awesome feature in the load LoRa node. If you right click on the LoRa loader and say view LoRa info, you actually get to see all the captions that were trained into LoRa. And some of them actually have the trigger word as well. But I can see from these that my trigger word is just Purr's face. Like it's in half of the prompts. So we're just gonna add
That's
that
fantastic.
Just in case you have to do some crappy detective work like me. And we also, because we're using this diffusion model loader, we're gonna need that. I think we're gonna need that dual clip loader, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dual clip loader. You don't have to do this with the one that's merged, the official one. But I don't have it downloaded, so we're just gonna use this one. So I need my T5 XXL FP8 and my Clip L. I guess that stuff's trained into the checkpoint version, so you probably don't need those with that version, but we'll see. All right, so Flux 1 Dev, blah, blah, blah. We're using our Purr's face. We're just going to actually see what it says. Purr's face, a man dancing. We're just going to see if this works. What did I miss? VAE, right? Who needs a VAE?
Kind of important.
Nah, we're good. we should probably add this clip through too. Let's not have any nude purses. So there, it was mad because I didn't plug the clips into the right places, and that's a legitimate beef, quite honestly. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody there. You won't need this diffusion model clip loader in VAE node if you just use the checkpoint loader and the new dev FP8 model. This is just sort of a remnant from the old files I have on my hard drive. So we're loading the diffusion model, and if I disappear, that's why.
Yeah, Flux is a monster. It always takes a minute, you know.
It's only the first run though. Once it's loaded, it's all good.
Yeah, exactly.
CFG1. That seems low, yeah? Oh, no, because of the guidance, right? Yeah.
No.
There we go.
Yeah, we're good. Oh my god, I hate it.
This guy comes up to you in a club. What do you do?
Dude, I was going to say, you got to stop taking pictures in the club, man.
Just getting sloppy with it. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, like you can see the quality of this isn't amazing. And that's probably because my training settings weren't amazing at the time. Also, the images that I put in weren't great either. So, like garbage in, garbage out every time with LoRAs. So you want to kind of get the best looking stuff you can get in there. But yeah, let's Purse face. A man fighting a bear in front of a burning cabin.
Try to do full body.
You wish, buddy.
I want to see if I can do it. Come on. I just want to see the full body.
Am I wearing? Okay, just making sure I'm wearing clothes. Yeah. Just making sure I'm wearing clothes. Hard to tell. It looks like we're not fighting, per se. Yeah.
Now kiss.
This looks like our honeymoon photo.
Oh my god.
I mean, as dumb as this is, look at the occlusion of the flame through the beard. Like that is just bonkers good. I love this model.
Awesome.
What scheduler do we like for Flux these days? Like what are we doing?
I personally do DPM 2M.
Okay.
And then SGM.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, hit it.
Yeah, hit it.
I had a yes. AMA asked if we had a different LoRA word. Yes, in the model or the one that I am currently training, it's Pur's face with F4 C3. This is the model that I trained back in the day, just because that model I was training is still training. So, yeah, it probably won't be done by the time we're done here.
One bear versus 100. No, yeah, one bear versus 100 men. Yeah.
Now we're just arm wrestling outside.
Oh my god! I mean, it's full body. It followed the prompts.
First face. 15 men playing soccer. Let's see if they're all me. Not only what's the right hand doing, dude, what's with these sandals? They're just shoes that I cut the fronts out of.
Oh my gosh.
There's like handmade sandals here.
You're trying to be a ninja.
Okay. Just me and my son, I guess. My son with gray hair.
Oh my. Just a couple of good old blokes right here.
15 men, that's for sure. Oh, that's so dumb. Man playing saxophone with pure passion and pure joy and fiery passion. Handmade sandals? What, you don't make your own sandals? There's more passion with each step. But again, the mixing is the cool part. So let's add another LoRa loader here. So you just water wheel these together because they're all in the same chain. So like the clip goes through each one. So to make this make a little more sense, do this. Boop. Boop. Oh yeah, that guy plays sax. Well, that sax looks very small.
Yeah.
So yeah, the point is we're just kind of like putting these LoRas one after the other. So let's have a look at and see if we can add him to the.
Look at that LoRa list. My God. I mean, mine looks the same, but like, you know, it's always shocking when you see it on someone else's computer.
So we're going to try to have me DJ a boiler room. So I've got my Purse Face LoRa and the boiler room LoRa. A man standing in front of a crowd of people at a nightclub. He is wearing a blue t-shirt and blue jeans. And they're both at like 100% here, strength models. So you can play with the strength of the models here to give one more weight and give one less weight, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm at the club, but I'm not DJing. So a man DJing at a party. There is a crowd of sweaty people dancing.
You just had to specify, didn't you?
I had to specify sweaty, yeah.
Okay, here we go.
But see, they're all me.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of.
Yeah, they all look like monsters, though.
The high-res fix, and they'll all look like you.
Little high-res fix, little GFP, little face
that's
fusion.
the
We're
one,
good to go.
dude. That's your new Tinder profile.
Yeah.
For
especially
sure.
with all the me's behind me just giving up.
I wonder if anyone would notice.
How did I open the LoRa's metadata? You right-click on the LoRa loader node and say View LoRa Info. And then that gives you all the info that's trained into the LoRa. This way you can preserve it without having to go back to Civitai or remember it.
Yeah.
Also, if the information you need is not here, you can view the raw metadata for the train, and you can see even more stuff about the actual training itself. So like if you're trying to remember what's like settings you had for the training, they are stored in the metadata. So you can go back and look at them. Yeah. Tells you, you know, everything you need to know about the training.
They did good on that.
Yes, that's an extremely helpful feature. Nailed it. Look at this guy. He's pretty chill.
Oh my. Kill it.
I didn't know my sleep paralysis demon was chill like that.
He goes hard.
Just vibing at boiler room shows.
Oh my God.
Right on, everybody. That's our hour. It's been super fun hanging out with everyone as always. And, we'll dive into this stuff more and more as time goes on. Like training LoRa's is I get said it 50 times, but just integral to becoming yourself with AI, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hit up the Discord, hit up all the places, tag us, ping us with the stuff you made. We'd like to see the LoRa's you've made too. If you make some cool LoRa's, post them and we'll check them out. And if they're really cool, we'll do a LoRa showcase on the stream sometimes, you know. There's lots of great stuff being trained out there in the community, so shine a spotlight on it. Everything you guys do helps everybody else and vice versa. So you might feel alone or isolated in this thing, but there's probably someone else going through it just like you on the other side of it. So that's why these communities are awesome, because you can go be miserable together. And share your wins, of course, you know.
A lot of pain, a lot of pleasure.
Mostly your pain.
Mostly
But
pain.
yeah, awesome guys. Thanks everybody. We'll be back on Friday. I have no idea what we're going to be up to, but probably some crazy model will have dropped,
Yes.
and we'll learn it and show y'all. And if not, we'll dive deeper into something else that we've been rabbit holing down. If you have any suggestions for the stream, any stuff you want us to cover specifically, there's a stream suggestions channel on the Discord. You can just slide on in there and be like, "Hey, Pers sucks. Tell him to stop talking." We've gotten that a few times. But yeah, I don't blame y'all. I talk a lot, but I also that's why we're here. All right. Bye everybody. Drive safe and have a great weekend. Although it's Tuesday, so I guess you're not gonna have a great weekend. You're gonna have a great 3 days. That's my sign out for Fridays. My sign out for Tuesdays is have a great week. Woo! It's been a day. All right, take it easy, everybody. We'll see you all real soon. Bye, Phil. Thanks for coming, man.
Always a pleasure.